I'm going to tell you a story today. This is a favorite story of my youth, and I've told it to my children all the years that I've raised my children. It is one of their favorite, and it's called Little Brown Cocoa. Once upon a time, there was a little boy named Little Brown Cocoa. Little Brown Cocoa loved to go to his grandpa and grandma's house. Well, one day when he went down to his grandpa and grandma's house, it was a warm, sunny day, and he followed the ditch bank down to their house, and when he got there, he was so excited. Grandpa was out milking the cow. And so Little Brown Cocoa's grandma said, "Little Brown Cocoa, why don't you go see Grandpa?" So he went out to where Grandpa was milking the cow, and Grandpa said, "Little Brown Cocoa, do you want to milk old Betsy?" "Yeah," he said. So Little Brown Cocoa, he started milking old Betsy, and he thought he'd be really funny. And he took that old milk and he squeezed it, and he squeezed it onto Grandpa, and he thought he was so funny. Well, after they'd milked old Betsy, they took the milk bucket, and Little Brown Cocoa carried it into Grandma in the house. And she took the milk and she strained it, and poured it into a jar. Well, pretty soon that milk and the cream started separating, and the cream on top. Grandma took it and poured it into a smaller jar, and she screwed on the lid, and she said, "Would you like to help me make butter, Little Brown Cocoa?" "Yeah, I would." So they took that jar and they shook it and they shook it and they shook it, and they shook it until finally it started to clump together, and there was a big ball of butter. Well, Grandma poured off the water, which was called whey, and then she took it into the faucet and she rinsed it in some cool water. She put a little bit of salt in it and mixed it up, and then she put it in some butter molds, and she stuck it in the fridge. Little Brown Cocoa, he was having a good time. He said to Grandpa, "Grandpa, let's go down to the creek and let's fish." So Grandpa got his fishing pole, and they went down to the end of the pasture, down to the creek, and they caught and Little Brown Cocoa caught a great big trout, and they took it and they cut off the head, and they cut it open and took out the guts, and they took it home to Grandma, and she said, "Wow, this looks like a really nice fish." And Little Brown Cocoa said, "Grandma, will you cook it for me?" "Oh, all right, Little Brown Cocoa." So she got out her pan and she put some butter in it, and she put that fish in there and started frying it. Oh, Little Brown Cocoa was so excited. Pretty soon, that fish was done, and they went and they sat to the table, and Grandma got out her some bread and some milk, and they ate that fish, and oh, it tasted so good. Grandma was the best cook ever. Well, it was about time to go home, and Little Brown Cocoa's grandma said, "Little Brown Cocoa, I have made this butter for your mama, and I want you to take it home, but I want you to be very careful, Little Brown Cocoa, with that butter." "Oh, Grandma, I will," he said. So then he hurried home, and he thought, how can I be careful with butter? I know, I'll stick it on my head. So that's what he did. He stuck that butter on his head, and it was a hot summer day, and that butter started to melt, and it melted down his face and down his arms and on his legs and into his toes. Oh, when he got home, he was a buttery mess. His mama said, "Little Brown Cocoa, what in the world did you do?" "Grandma gave me butter and told me to be careful." "Little Brown Cocoa, that's not what you do with butter. You take it down to the creek. Just dip it in the cool water. You wrap cool leaves around it, tuck it into your arm, and run home as fast as you can." "Okay, Mama, I'm sorry. I know what to do next time." Well, next time he went to Grandma's house, it was so fun. Grandma's dog had puppies and they were so cute. One had little dots, little spots all over, and he was growling at little brown Coco and tugging on his leg, and he was having so much fun. Well, when it was time to go home, his grandma said, "Little brown Coco, now I called your mom and she said you could have a puppy if you want one." Okay, now little brown Coco, go pick out your favorite one and take it home. Thank you, Grandma. So little brown Coco took that puppy and she said, "Now be careful with that puppy. It's a little puppy. It needs to be taken care of." "Oh, Grandma, don't worry. Mama told me exactly what to do." Okay, little brown Coco. Well, little brown Coco, he took that poor little puppy down to the creek, dipped it in the cold water, wrapped cold wet leaves around it, and tucked it under his arm and ran home as fast as he could. Oh my, oh my. When he got home, that poor puppy was just a-shivering. And his mama said, "Little brown Coco, what did you do to that puppy dog? That's not what you do to puppy dogs. You do that to Butter. To puppy dog, you take it and you wrap a little rope or string around it. Snack and you walk it home." "Oh, Mama, I'm sorry. All right, I know what to do next time." Well, the next time he went to Grandma's house, oh, it was his favorite day. It was baking day, and Grandma was the best cook, and she made the best bread, and she made bread. It smelled so good in the oven, and he couldn't wait to get some. As soon as it was done, came out of the oven, he said, "Grandma, can I have a piece?" "Of course you can, little brown Coco." So they sat down to the table and Grandma cut the bread and she got some of her good yummy butter and some of her good homemade fig jam. And then she spread on that jam and she gave him a big cup of cold milk in a tin cup. And then they ate that bread and that butter and jam and milk, and oh, it was so good. Little brown Coco loved his grandpa and grandma. Well, it was about time to go home pretty soon, and little brown Coco's mama said, "Now, little brown Coco, your mama loves my bread. I want you to take this loaf home to her, and be careful." "Oh, Grandma, I know how to be careful. Mama told me." "Good." So off he went, and he got him a little string. He wrapped it around that bread, and he walked home with it. When he got home, his mother was so upset. It was nothing but a bunch of nasty, dirty crumbs. She said, "Little brown Coco, from now on, I'm going to Grandma, and you're staying home tomorrow." "Okay," he said. So in the morning, little brown Coco woke up and his mother had been busy baking pies, and she had baked 13 pumpkin pies and laid them on the back porch to cool. Well, when she got up, she said, "Little brown Coco," when he got up, she said, "Little brown Coco, I'm going to Grandma's house. Now I want you to be very careful to not step in each one of these pies." "Oh, Mama, are you sure?" "Of course I'm sure." "Okay," he said. So off his mama went, and he very carefully stepped in each one of those 13 pies. And when his mama got home, oh my, she said, "Little brown Coco, you go get me a little switch." And he did. And she switched his little bottom. And she said, "From now on, little brown Coco, I want you to listen to every word that comes out of Mama's mouth." And you know what? He did.